Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Maggie Olmedo. I also go by Margaret. I love you too. My people at work call me Margaret. People call me Mags. I do not like Marge because there was a movie, Twilight Zone, and Large Marge pulled some guy in and murdered him. And that was first of all, I'm not gonna murder you, and second of all, I don't like being referred to as large. Nobody does. Okay, so here's the handouts. They'll pop up ever so often until we get through. So in case you didn't get them now. Okay, so I'm gonna start out and I'm gonna tell you a story. All right? So the first time I went to Momentum, it was not called Momentum, it was called BNYC, Brethren National Youth Conference. If you try to even chat GPT it, which I did, you cannot find anything about it, which is, I don't know if it's concerning, maybe it's God's will, I don't know, but you can't. But all I know is my first time I went to Momentum, I got in trouble 3 times. With the highest, with the highest dean. The first time I got in trouble is when I hid my roommate. Okay, now I'm gonna explain something. Back then, you were not in a room with your people. You were with 5 random other people that you had no clue who they were, whether you liked them or not, whether they were going to kill you in the middle of the night or not, right? So, and someone else's leader was your counselor. So we did have a slightly terrifying person, and my other friend convinced me to, and people that know me are going to be like, really, you did that? Hide her hairbrush in the back of the toilet and put soap on her toothbrush. So that was the first time I got in trouble. The second time, they convinced me to do it. Sometimes I was like, I wanted friends, I guess. Then the second time I got in trouble, my friend was in the room right above me. So I was in this floor, she was on this floor. And I would sneak out after lights out and I would go into her room. Well, of course, I got caught because I had put the toothbrush, right? Because I had ruined the toothbrush and I got caught because they were looking for me to get me in trouble for that. And then I got in trouble for being in the wrong room. So that's number 2. And number 3 was my friend didn't have a key for her door because there weren't enough keys. And so we would just kick the door open, because it would work. And some girls down the hall couldn't get in, and they said, could you do that to my door? I said, yeah. And I literally broke that door, broke it. Broke the door, broke the frame, broke everything. So my mom and dad had to pay for a door because I didn't have any money. So, that's the first time I went to Momentum. And here I am today. On the board. Is Vinny still in here? Good, he's not in here anymore. Okay, so anyway, so I had no idea that probably had a little bit of ADHD going on there, a little impulsivity, not thinking through things all the way. It wasn't, I will tell you, I never really felt like I belonged. I still often don't feel like I belong. But then people would be like, she's so cool, she's so great, we love her, she's awesome. And I'm like, I don't feel that way at all, right? So fast forward, I have my youngest daughter, and this is her right here. If anybody has a picture of anybody that looks like this at this age, there's a good chance they're neurodivergent. Just saying. So she gets to high school and she literally come in the car every day and she would just be like, oh! I'm like, what is happening? She's straight A student, varsity swim team. She's playing water polo. She's in every good class. She's got all these friends, and she every day come in the car. Oh, I hate school. I don't want to go. Couldn't figure it out. So it was a long path of she has ADD and Asperger's. Now Asperger's doesn't exist. So then she lost that diagnosis. So then it went from she has ADHD and she has OCD. And then it went to she has ADHD and OCD and anxiety and depression. And then finally, it was her junior year in college, because I was like, we got to figure this out. You're autistic. And so that's why you have all those other things. Well, in the meantime, I myself am like, I'm going to lose my mind. And like, I think it was it was right after my daughter had moved into the dorm, because she started college in COVID. So she moved into the dorm. She's in the dorm. She comes home one weekend, and I literally lose my you know what. And I would say it if it wasn't at a church camp. But I lost it, and you could spell it. It's 4 letters. And my husband and my daughter were like, what is going on? Like, what's the matter? And I just couldn't hold it in anymore. And so I sought a psychiatrist, and I was medicated for anxiety and depression. Well, once that got under control, my psychiatrist said, hey, I think you have ADHD. And I was like, no, that's not me. And I said, okay. So they tested me, and they're like, well, by golly, you do. So I started getting medicine for that. And I was like, whoa, I'm productive today. Like, I can think. I can follow a conversation. My mind is not going 100 miles an hour. And then when I started, like, getting free of that, like, pressure of always having my mind going 1,000 miles an hour, it amassed that I actually fell on the spectrum. Okay, so I am the high social area is like my thing. It's actually my obsession. So that's why it appears to be that I'm fine, okay? And then I meet Tim the other day, and Tim's friends are like, he literally talks to every single person in the whole wide world. He has like 100 friends. But yet I bet Tim and me and about 100 other people that hear that go home and they're like, I don't have any friends at all. Like, I really don't have a single friend in the world, really. So that is my story. Okay, so really fast, if you don't already know, neurodivergent is when your brain, neurologist, when your brain is differently working than a typical brain. I don't like to say normal because I don't think there's actually really any normal. And so these are just different pictures of different things that they're finding out. And if you see the lights, it's because, like, for autistic people, this part of the brain is lit up all the time, where a neurotypical's brain is, like, not lit up at all. And if you're dyslexic, which I'm studying right now, this part of the brain is, like, having to overcompensate to learn how to read, okay? And so I don't want to get into that because it's kind of boring, but it's fascinating to me. But the thing is that science has caught up with people's thinking, right? And science is proving with, like, a functional MRI that, yes, if you have anxiety, and we're not talking about, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if that guy wants to ask me out on a date. We're not talking about that kind of anxiety. Oh my gosh, I'm at this test. I really want to get on the A. Not that kind of anxiety. But if you're feeling anxiety or depression or something and you're like, there is no reason for this, and they hook you up to an MRI, they're going to be like, oh, that brain is literally on fire. Like, it is going 100 million miles an hour right now, sitting in this chair, not doing anything. It is literally going. So, that being said, if you have ever had difficulty planning, we call that executive functioning. That's the kid that you say, could you go get your book, because I teach kindergarten. Could you go get your book and come over here? And they go, and then they come back, and they don't have a book, and you're like, your book. And they go, your book. They come back, your book, your book. That's executive functioning. That's in its like primal stages, right? Easily distracted or hyper-focused, sensory to sounds. I didn't know that it was not normal that every time the fire truck went by that I would hide down back before seatbelts were required. I would hide down in this back seat like as low as I could and cover my ears. Like I thought everybody did that, right? Doesn't everybody do that? Mm-hmm. Sure, okay. Loud sounds, smells, every day that I was pregnant I threw up because any smell literally was like killing me. Verbal processing, finding words. Sometimes I say weird things. Some people have a harder time with that. Criticism. Yesterday, somebody said something to me, and they were not being mean at all, and I literally thought I was going to be sick the rest of the night. You guys were with me. And they're like, we didn't know you felt like you were going to die, but I did. And still. Anxiety, overthinking, reading, challenges, reading, social skills, sarcasm, blah, 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 blah. You see them all. Selective mutisms, repetitive speech, stemming, echolalia. I love some echolalia, though. My echolalia. Did you know that people that are very verbal, their echolalia is actually repeating things that they've heard before? Where, like, a more severe echolalia would just be, I want to talk to you, but I don't know how. And so you say, hi, how are you? And they go, hi, how are you? I'm fine. They go, I'm fine. What's your name? What's your name? That would be a more severe, but my echolalia would be like if you were like, say, have a chair. And I would say, come have a chair, America. Get right down there, America. Swanson's cooking just for you. That would be my echolalia. So if you quote like movies and all kinds of stuff, yeah, that's it. Okay, so now, do you identify? Now, I answered this one, so, but let's just get a poll really quick, because I want to know, like, are you just here for sympathy, or do you actually feel any of these things? Do you care? I never thought about it. My friend just dragged me here.
That's why it was
And the thing is, okay, can I just say something? Like, I'm going to save this slide when everybody goes, everybody has that problem. I'm going to be like, look, 8% said no. So, there you have it. Okay, I'm going to move on. You still can answer, but I'm going to move on. Okay, so that's me. So you can see why something's wrong. Okay, now I should have started out by saying, if I'm neurodivergent, did God make a mistake? And I would have told you no, but then you would have all left because you would have known the answer. You wouldn't have had to listen to anything. So I waited. So now you can't leave because everybody will know. So again, if you didn't get the handouts, here they are. But let's start at the beginning. And you see this little music? That's my echolalia. Does any? Thank you. Who said that? Who said Sound of Music? Yeah. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. If you don't know that movie, please watch it. Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning. So at the beginning, the Bible says that God said, let us make humankind. And all of these scriptures are in the handout, hyperlinked, with a short little blip of what it might be. So if you want to write it down, you can, but you don't have to write it down. It's up to you. Let us make humankind in our image, after our likeness, so they may rule over the fish and sea, blah, 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 blah. And God created humankind in his own image, the image of God and created them in the image. Okay, so the first image is Selim. I don't know if I can get it to play, but that will, if I push that, and I don't know if I can, let me see. It will say it.
צלם,
Okay, and then the other one is
דמות,
Mut. Okay, so Selem is basically it's the structural role, a representation of the image of God. It's like we're a shadow of him. So we're not fully him, but like if you can imagine a shadow, it's like we resemble him. But the problem is that like he doesn't have body. So how's that work? So Demut is more that we are, the image, because this is the second image word, is that our moral or spiritual resemblance is to God's character. So the image of ourselves, to some extent, does have a form and a body, but it's more about who he is than what he looks like. Does that make sense? It's kind of, I don't want to get into that because that'll go down the rabbit trail. But so what does God actually even look like? So if you look in the Bible, 2 places. This is funny because you said this the other day. Worship. So God is spirit. That's very clear. God is spirit, and those who worship him in spirit and truth. And then over here it says the Son is the image of the invisible God. So he resembles the invisible God, but in a human body. All right? And so then this made me think, okay, how does that relate to me? Because I am definitely not a spirit. Like I'm literally in this body here today. So what part of me actually is spirit? So if we look here, later on in the New Testament, it talks about how we have 3 parts of like that make up kind of who we are. So we have our physical bodies, which they use the word soma. We have our inner life or self, which you see psyche. That's why we have a psychiatrist and a psychologist, psyche. And then nephesh. And then the breath, spirit of God that gives us life. So they're all working together. They're not separate. They're together. And all 3 together make up who we are. Now, I'm going to break that out even more because I had to dig deep because I was a little bit off theologically, and I'm going to tell you why, and then I figured out why. So, soul. You've all heard soul. How many of you think a soul is a spirit? Like a spirit that lives inside of you, and then nobody cares. Okay, somebody said, okay, does anybody said, I don't care about that. Like, that doesn't matter to me. It's okay. So I was thinking, okay, your soul lives inside your body, you know, it works within your body, da, da, da. Well, actually, the word soul in Hebrew means the entire person. How you look, how you act, your body, your personality, every single thing that makes you up, you are a nephesh, you are a soul. And the only Western speaking people that use soul in the correct way are pilots and captains of ships, because they count the people on the ship as souls. And you're like, why do they call them souls? Well, that's because that's what it means. It means a body. It doesn't mean an invisible thing, okay? So think of it like this. We are in our human 1.0 body. Now, when God created Adam and Eve, their 1.0 body was actually a 2.0 body, but then they sinned, and it became a 1.0. Not technically, but kind of. So it was probably a 1.0, and then they ruined it, so then they had to upgrade eventually, right? Okay, nobody's there. Okay, so in this world we live as, thank you, we live as a human 1.0. We're embodied, mortal, prone to death, and sin, okay? So our bodies are fine. God created them exactly the way that he wanted them to be, but we're living in a fallen place, so there's going to be damage. And I could go into that. That's why I'm writing a whole other book about it. There's all kinds of reasons why you came out and you weren't just exactly perfectly made in the sense of without sin, without any kind of problems or any disability or whatever, okay? So, but the good news is it's temporary, right? So the spirit is actually what animates us. So God breathes into us, and that gives us animation, makes us alive. And then when we die, that spirit returns to God, and the nefesh, this 1.0, ceases to exist, in a sense, right? Now, don't lose me, because I'm like, y'all are like, what is going on? And then, and if there's any of this that isn't actually true, like you like look into it, and you're like, you're off a little bit, let me know. Because I don't want to be wrong, I want to be true. So then there's a period, and we don't know how long that is, that we're in between our 1.0 and our 2.0. So we're not really sure, because God doesn't actually specifically say when we die that we're going to go into our 2.0 body, or we're going to be in that spiritual sense until Christ returns and makes all things new again. Then we'll get the 2.0. We don't know. All we know is that once we die, we are out of our nefesh, and then we go back into our 2.0 eventually, if we're believer. Okay? Now, I'm sure that there's some kind of correlation for a non-believer as well. It's just where the non-believer is going to be in their nefesh 2.0. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. I don't want to say that and be wrong, but I have some thoughts. So that 2.0, like I said, is when we are transformed and we are given the body. So, in other words, like when, it's funny because I told my daughter, I'm like, when we get to heaven, we'll look the same. She's like, I don't want to live like this again. And I'm like, well, gee whiz. So I don't know. Like, are we going to look the same? I don't know. I think we're probably going to look pretty similar to the way we look, because we're going to recognize each other. But but the cool thing about 2.0 body is, even though it's physical, it's going to have all of the abilities of the spirit, and be able to do like what Jesus did when he came back, how he was like able to go through the wall, and he was able to just appear, and we would be able to do those same things. And the cool part is, if we're on earth, the new heaven and the new earth, after, in these bodies, I'd be like, hey, Parker, let's go to Fiji Islands this afternoon. And you're like, okay. Pop, oop, da-da-dee-da-dee. Right? We could do that in heaven, because heaven is actually, we say we're going to heaven. We're actually going to be on earth. It's going to be the new heaven and the new earth, right? It's going to be earth. It's going to be all the goodness. Rob, we can hang out, get some Philly cheesesteak. We won't get fat. You can eat as much as we want. I don't think we'll have Philly cheesesteak, though, because we won't kill people. We won't kill animals, I don't think. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic again. So in the Bible, I'm going to talk too long. Okay, I'm going too slow. Okay. Is it still recording? Yes, I think. Okay. So back then in the Bible, they thought the heart was just how you felt. Now we have x-rays and MRIs and stuff. We know that's what the heart looks like, right? In the Bible, they thought your mind was just your thoughts. But now we know the mind is actually this organ right here. So let's talk about that. So when it talks about with your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength, it means that as any person living, everybody has a heart. They have affections, desires, and motivations. The mind, your intellect and your ability to think and reason, your strength, physical and mental ability, mental capacity, abilities, resources, soul, your entire being, your whole self. Remember, that's your nefesh, right? That's who you are. Okay, so The reason I say all of that is because we get in our minds like we aren't meeting this mark, right? We're not actually good enough for this. Like we can't do as well as everybody else because we've got something wrong, right? But everybody has all of that. Because if Jesus said, love me with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and you're like, but I can't even like get out of bed some days because I'm too sad or whatever it is. Like, he knows that because he made you. He still knows you can do it because he said you can. And you're going to do it a different way. And you're still going to be okay. Because eventually, we're going to have our 2.0. Now, because God's image is not looking like him, we have his character. We have his diversity. Everybody has a role in the body of Christ. That will be this passage right here where it talks about like nobody cares about the little toe until you stub it on your bed, right? And then it's like everybody cares about your little toe. Like I was babysitting once and I stubbed my toe like on this corner, but I still had like put the kids to bed and it's kind of dark. I didn't want to look at them. And like I came back into the living room and like literally there's blood just coming out of my toe. And I was just like, oh, that's fun. Yeah. But I cared about that little toe then. Like I don't care about it right now, but if it was hurting, I would. So everybody has a role. So if you are sitting there right now and you're thinking, I'm here because I think God made a mistake. God didn't do a good job. I'm telling you that the way he made you is exactly the way he needs you to be while you're here living on the earth. Because you can do something that he needs you to do that will reflect him. You have to get close to him and say, okay, I'm going to be close to you. Use me however you are going to use me, but he will. Because it says that when you're in your mother's tummy being created, he is fearfully and wonderfully making you. Okay? So, whoa. Okay, so now, we're going to do another slide. It's supposed to flip over. Is it going to flip over? I don't know. Is it going to? Okay, so this one is, I don't know if it's going to work. This one is, let's see. Oh, it's not working. Tell me if it's showing up on yours. How does knowing your whole self reflects God's image make you feel? Is it showing up? No? Okay, well, never mind. I guess we won't know. Okay. I guess we won't know what you think about that one. Okay, so here's where I go. Here's where I'm going to convince you of this. Here's where I'm going to convince you that God didn't make a mistake when he made you. Regardless of why you're here, he didn't make a mistake why he made you, okay? So there are disabilities, okay? And there are visible disabilities and there are disabilities you cannot see. And so, for example, Rob, see, this is why I said, Rob, did you come and like hack into my computer? Well, Rob brought this up. So when Jesus healed, and he has a whole nother look at it, and we're both right, but it's cool how that works with the Bible. But when Jesus heals the blind man, they're like, whose fault is it? Whose fault that he's blind? Now, nowadays, I would feel really sad if somebody said that. I'm sure people still do say stuff like that because they don't think about what they're doing. But nobody should say, whose fault is it that your kid came out and cannot hear? What did you do wrong? What did you do wrong because your kid can't walk? What did you do wrong, right? I mean, obviously, like, some people do stupid stuff and, like, they get hurt. But I'm never going to be like, it's all your fault. You don't have a leg anymore, right? I'm never going to say that, right? So Jesus is like, the reason he's blind is because I need to show my glory right now. And it becomes a thing. So and even the blind man ends up like, he's like having to like share the gospel himself. Like, look. So that's that passage. Now, when it comes to medical needs, like things you're like I have high blood pressure. And I hate it when the doctor's like, you need to lose weight. And I'm like, I want to say bad words. And sometimes I do, so don't tell. Parker. But it's genetic. So my dad was this really tall, skinny guy, and he had high blood pressure when he was like 20. My daughter's starting to get high blood pressure, and I was like, girl, I am like giving you all the bad genetics. I'm so sorry. Arthritis, asthma, I have asthma. So those are things you can't necessarily see, right? And yet God cares about it, because this story is about the woman who, don't fall asleep, Simon. I'm so sorry. I love Simon, though. I can say that about Simon. I know, he's so popular. He won, what did you win, the soap hockey? Yeah, he did. He was up on the stage. If you want his autograph afterward, he's available. So anyway, she has been bleeding for 12 years. Now, when I was a kid and I heard that, like, I'm like, how is she not dead? How is she not dead? Well, no, she's on her period for 12 years.
That must suck.
Okay, see, y'all are like in a different one. So, back then when you were on your period, you couldn't be around anybody else because you were unclean. And there's a whole thing about that. And God's not trying to be like mean to people, but there's a whole thing about that, which is a whole nother topic. Why the whole thing about blood and everything, because blood is life, and there's a whole blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so she literally has been an outcast for 12 years. She's gone to every single doctor. She sees him walking. She makes her way through the crowd. She reaches out and touches him, and she's healed. And Jesus is like, who touched me? And it's like being in Disneyland after the fireworks, and you're like walking like this. And if I said, who touched me? They're like, you're crazy. Everybody, like, you're literally sardine right now. And he knew, and they're like, you're crazy, Jesus. How do you know that? And immediately he healed her. Okay? So does God care about blind people? Yes. Does God care about people on the period for 12 years? Yes. So why wouldn't he care about you? Right? And that's why I say, we're finding out that if you have some sort of mental health issue, it's not a bad word, it's literally your brain is not working the way all the other people's brains are. Okay, there's lots of things. It could be chemicals. I had a stomach surgery, because again, remember the large Marge, that kind of relation. So I had a stomach surgery, and literally they say it changes your chemical makeup in your body. So there are things that I will not eat anymore because I don't have those cravings anymore, just by cutting out some of my stomach. So I'm just saying, there's lots of stuff we don't know. Your brain has chemicals, and if there's too many of them and they're not balanced, you're going to have problems. There's wiring in your brain. They can see so let's say Parker's brain has a wire that goes from here to here, as well as like 60% of the people in the world, and my brain's wire goes like this. The same wire, it's going the wrong direction. They're fine. So we've got to figure out how to get this to here, and it's going this way, but the brain can do it. I'll get into that. There's plaque. People have strokes, right? Or the plaque builds up. My mom is 92, and they took a CT, and they're like, she has brain atrophy. I was like, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry, but you are 92. Okay. So your brain atrophies. It gets smaller as you get older. And then like the left and the right hemisphere, I am cross dominant. I literally cannot tell my hands apart. I write with my left. I kick with my right. I brush my teeth with my right. I cut with my right. I do other things with the left I can't think of right now. But I cannot play the piano. I cannot play the guitar. I cannot do any of that because my this hand thinks it's this hand. And so, like, it's a disaster. And my mom was mad because she plays piano. She's like, I don't can't play the piano. I don't know. I can't type very well still. But that's why. So, yeah, it's a thing. But think of it like this. Now, if you're autistic, this doesn't apply to really a lot of other people, but this is just a good example. So if you're autistic, your brain is a radio receiver. Everybody in this room, okay? And when you're born, it receives every signal. And as you grow, it deletes the signals it doesn't need to listen to. The autistic brain actually, and sometimes the ADHD, it gets all the signals all the time. And some people get more of all the signals all the time, and some people get some of all the signals all the time, depending on how they fall in the spectrum, right? But they literally pick up every signal. And like someone that's got Alzheimer's, it's like the opposite. It's like not picking up any signals, right? And then you would never go up to Delaney. I love Delaney. Delaney's fun. And you would never say to Delaney, if she couldn't sing tonight because she got sick and she got laryngitis, you'd be like, girl, you haven't been doing your devotions. Have you prayed lately? Because that's your problem. Would you ever say that? No. When your body isn't working right, why do we pick on the brain? Because we don't understand it, right? So, again, you're not a mistake. In the Bible, it talks about it a lot, okay? And there are people, I have heard them. You might have heard them. I hope you haven't, but I think you have. That say that if you are having struggles mentally, you are not working hard enough. You're not like doing the things, or you shouldn't be going to counseling, or you shouldn't be taking medicine or whatever, because that's not true. And I'm going to get into that. But Jesus cared for every single person, no matter what their problem was. Physical, mental. And he says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy. I will give you rest. Okay? Now, the reason I say that is because this guy is John Lennox. If you want an easy read from a really smart guy, this is probably a book that you do, because he's pretty funny. But he is a Christian apologetics. He's a scientist, and he works in Oxford, England. And he says that people say that science and God cannot go together. Science and religion cannot go together. And he's like, no, they work simultaneously. And often science will prove what God has already said. Let me give you an example. Science has already proven that your DNA changes when you experience trauma. And if your mom or dad or grandma or grandpa experienced trauma and they never told you about it, it actually changed their DNA, which then changed your DNA. And so when I have a kid come out of my belly who's living in a great place and she literally thinks everybody's going to murder her, which I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. She does. And I think, what the heck? How come you think that? I don't know. It could be because somewhere down the line somebody had some kind of trauma that related to that. It could be. I'm not saying it is. But medically, they've proven this, right? But what does it say in the Bible? The sins of the father pass from generation to generation. And it doesn't necessarily be the sins, but the consequences of those sins pass. And that's just recent. I know he's like. So if the Bible says that all truth comes from God, and we have scientific truth, it's true, you can see it now, we can prove it scientifically, then it's true. Like, we can't just say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't want to believe that part. Like, we don't want to believe that functional MRI is real. No, I mean, if you can see that it's true, and then you go, oh, and then in the Bible it talks about that. There's so many of those that are coming out. There's so many of those that are coming out right now. So there are spiritual factors that affect those kind of things, like anxiety, depression, whatever. But there are also medical treatments. That's why when I went to the psychiatrist, she gave me a low dose of medicine to help me feel like I could function. And then I saw a counselor and talked through the things. And as I got that under control, and my brain could actually go, oh, I can take a break, then all the other things came out. And I still do talk to my therapist once a week, which is good. So, remember, now I'm going to get you but you haven't told me anything. Is anybody interested? Has anybody thought this was boring yet? Okay, good. Okay, we still have some more stuff. A little bit. Okay, I'm going to go fast. I love this. In heaven, when we get our 2.0, there will be no more death, no more mourning. That's why I don't think that we'll be able to have Philly cheesesteak, because there won't be any more death. We'll just be vegetarians. I don't think we'll care.
No, I think we'll be eating the mad world of heaven,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. No more crying, no more pain, because the old order of things has passed away. So, do you think he's alluding to depression, ADHD, anxiety, I can't hear, I can't see, my heart doesn't work right, and you fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Rob, fill in the blank. Okay. Do this one. This one's on. I think I didn't do that other one right. Have you ever felt like mental health isn't understood well? Oh. Nobody has an opinion, apparently. Nobody apparently has an opinion at all about this. Okay, well, that's what I thought.
We're talking the church as a whole.
We're talking as a church.
Maybe not my specific leader has misunderstood.
Right. It could be the church in the whole, or it could be your church. It could be your church. It could be the church as a whole. However that means. Whatever that. I love you, Charlotte. Okay. So, the reason I'm going to go off of this because that's clear. And this is where I'm wrapping up. So we're starting to land the plane, okay? So let me tell you why I asked that. I do disagree slightly when people say that the Bible is like our handbook. I kind of disagree with that. And since Parker's nodding, I really disagree. How's that? No, I'm just kidding. The Bible is telling us about God and how God worked through all the things he did in the Bible, right? And so he purposely put stuff in the Bible so you can see who he is and how he reacts to people. So how did he react to the lady who was on her period? Did he be like, ah, you're unclean, and run away? No. Right? Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. How did he react to the guy who was blind? How did he react to the prostitute? How did he act to the Samaritan? The way he's acting, that's how you need to be acting. Okay? So in the Bible, there are lots of people who were messed up, but they were chosen. They made it in the Bible, for heaven's sake. They were important enough for God to say, hey, I want you in the Bible. Moses. Okay, Moses, let's go on a limb. If Moses had problems talking in front of people, social anxiety. If Moses had trouble with his words, because he said, I have trouble with my words. I stumble with my words. Speech impediment. Check. Neurodivergent. Check. Neurodivergent. Peter. That Peter, man, he like jumps out of the water. Jesus, I'm going to jump out of the water. I'm going to save you, Jesus. Cut off the ear. What is that? Hyper, impulsive, right? High energy. He goes from this, I'm going to never deny you. And then he's like, I don't know who he is. Be quiet. Right? He's just all over the place. Neurodivergent. Paul, he was hyper fixated on killing all the Christians. And then he immediately is like, now he's the opposite, right after he meets Jesus. And he talks about having a thorn in his flesh. Okay? So we know it's physical somehow. So some people think he could have had epilepsy, neurodivergent, or chronic headaches, or physical challenge, like he couldn't see very well. And because he was so black and white, they think maybe he was a little bit autistic because he could only see one way or the other way. Okay? Just going out on a limb. I'm not, when I get to heaven, Paul's gonna be like, what are you telling him? I'm autistic! That wasn't what was wrong with me. Doesn't matter, Paul. If you had a thorn in your flesh, we're gonna assume it's about your body. Jeremiah, that kid was crying all the time. Okay? He was crying all the time. Okay? King David, again. Now, no, this one threw me for a loop. King David had people that were around him because he was king, but he didn't have, how many friends did King David have?
0.
He had 0 plus the one who he wasn't even supposed to be friends with. Jonathan, right? How many friends do autistic people usually have?
0.
Okay? David was impulsive. Bathsheba, that's a whole nother topic. Talk to your mom and dad about that. He tore off his clothes and danced. Okay? Now again, I'm not saying for a fact that they were neurodivergent, but if you don't see yourself in any of those people, which you might, you're like, man, I feel like Jeremiah today. And then you saw that Jeremiah, still God helped him, he was with him, la 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 la. Then that's what God's trying to say. Look, I was with Jeremiah, I'll be with you. Look, even though Peter cut off the ear, I didn't tell him get lost, right? Okay? So, anybody else that you might know? There's people say that C.S. Lewis was autistic. Think about it. He checks like all 100 boxes of it, right? Tim Tebow has dyslexia. He is not someone who sits in the sidelines. Not trying to say that like in a pun, but, or a punt. That was really bad. But he has dyslexia, he doesn't let us stop, right? Yeah.
I want to highlight how crazy that is because people in the NFL, they have to literally memorize pages upon pages of information.
Right.
So he has to read it first before he can start.
Right. 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 And he didn't let that stop him. He didn't let them stop him doing NFL. Didn't let him stop him telling about Jesus. This guy, he founded JetBlue. He has ADHD, and he says his ADHD, he says, thank God for my ADHD because it helped me be who I am. Praise Jesus. And then Temple Grandin, I didn't realize that she was a Christian, but she is a Christian and she is autistic, but she really talks about how God made your brain, and I'm telling you what, this book is going to be so good when I write it because I'm going to tell you all kinds of great stuff. But there are some things coming out about the autistic community that will blow your mind. That's why you got to wait. And then don't forget me. Don't forget me. Now, you know what? My mom never let me have long hair. I think my mom and dad both were autistic. I think my mom is autistic. I know that sounds terrible, but she's 92 and she just had a UTI. UTIs in old people will kill them. So just know that when your parents get older, if they start acting loopy, they might have a UTI. I know that sounds really weird and why I'm saying that. It could be men and women. It doesn't matter.
Thank you.
However, it unmasked all kinds of crazy. Like she was doing these OCD rituals and she was doing these things and she was like, I'm afraid, I have bad thoughts. And I was just like, oh, she has OCD and we just never knew. Because she's a different generation. That's a whole nother book, Generations. There's my daughter. This is me in high school. And I want you to know something before we go. Because, oh my gosh, I'm going almost to the end. These are two important verses. I'm not going to say them, although I should because they're living and active and sharper than a two-edged sword. But you see the photo up there where the red dots are? When they did a functional MRI, this is a study. This is one of many that's happening right now. When they did a functional MRI on people listening to Bible verses, this part of the brain lit up. They're finding that they've done research where if you listen to the Bible, this is what I started doing until I scarred my granddaughter. That's a whole other story. Listen to the Bible. There's some racy stuff. There's some racy stuff in the Bible. It's X-rated at times. No, I'm R and X. Not even the Song of Solomon. Okay, stay with me because I'm almost done. When you listen to the Bible, they found by the studies that it literally rewires your brain. It has caused people who were in the military had PTSD. They listen, not Christian people, just people. They listened to the Bible every night for like 20, 30 minutes before they went to bed, and literally their PTSD got better by like 50, 60% after like the trial. Is it 67? 67. Okay? So, remember, you have God's image. One day you're going to be 2.0. Who knows? What if everybody in heaven's autistic? Right? That would be amazing. Okay? Even when we feel overwhelmed, God is with us. He knows what's going on. It is okay to get help. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to get medicated if that's a medical issue. It's okay. Because God made you neurodivergent for the reason of doing what he needed you to do. Like today, me telling you. So, here's your takeaway. Try to listen to the Bible before you go to bed. Get that U version. Okay? I like to pick the plans where it goes through the year because the U version, you listen to it, and then that'll renew your mind. Okay? Accept help without guilt. Develop healthy rhythms. Try to get rest. Try to pray more. be quiet more, still more. Take care of your body, because really, the body needs taken care of. So like you can look at your diet, have somebody test what you eat, because sometimes that does cause problems. And then embrace your neurodivergence, okay? So here is my, and does anybody still have TikTok? Because somebody made fun of me because I have TikTok.
Maggie, that's so mean. I love
Okay, so you can follow me on TikTok. You can follow me on Instagram. Please scan this. I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
And if you put your story in there, you don't have to do it right now. If you put your story in there and you give me permission, I'm going to put it in my book. Because I want to hear what people have dealt with and how God either maybe a bad thing or a good thing, but I want to get that out there to people so that they know. And then let's pray really fast. Dear God, thank you so much. You know I was scared. I had bad dreams. And I thank you that you let me get through it. And even though it's kind of like almost too late, please, Lord, let these people here just have a great rest of the day. And just let them know forever that you made them the way they need to be because they have a purpose and they have a reason for being here. And if any of them don't know who you are, I pray, Lord, that they will seek you out because you do understand them. And you are good. In Jesus' name, amen. And